Welcome everyone to the second episode of The Comics We Love. This is yet again kind of another makeup episode to Gambit. We were supposed to talk about Wanted at some point, and I decided to make this grow because both of us are fans of Mr. Mark Millar, or Millar as some people call him. I believe it's Miller. I think there's a good breadth of work to get into for Mr. Millar. He's touched on a lot of different books. And he has a Netflix empire of stuff that's never come out, except for Jupiter Circle, which immediately got canceled.
That sucks. No, Super Crooks is on Netflix too.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. It's an anime series, but which is the way I think that he should go.
There's some.
No, not all of them. That's true.
Yeah. So, when did you first discover Mark Millar's work?
Oh, I think it was with Ultimate X-Men.
Which is the unheralded part of his work, because really, when people talk about his work, they don't talk about that.
Really? That's
no, not often. That's kind of his overlooked. Like John's Comics, who's in the chat, is a huge X-Men fan, and I just remembered Ultimate X-Men kind of was one of those ones that kind of he didn't get into.
Oh, I was very into Ultimate X-Men. Actually, I got into the Ultimate Universe because of Ultimate X-Men.
Everybody kept talking about Ultimate Spidey, and I was like, okay, I'll check this out finally.
So yeah, it was something like that. I was like, oh man, that Ultimate. It's like, I didn't even want to try it. You know, I was like, that's stupid. It's just like 2099 all over again. You know, it's like
that was my same vibe of like, oh, here we go again.
This is new universe, whatever. You know, it's just gonna try another gimmick that's probably never gonna work out. And holy shit, for a while that was all I was reading.
So Ultimate
until Fallout, that's all I was reading. Ultimate titles, all the way up to the moment where Ultimatum was the one that was the last thing that I read when Magneto shifted the polar caps, and I was like, ah!
The Ultimate version of Kitty Pryde might actually be my favorite, because they actually really go into her Jewish faith and how she's wearing the Star of David all the time. And then she had the weird romance with Peter Parker, which was kind of funny.
I liked the thing I like about the Ultimate books was that they were actually, it looked like they were having fun, you know. And when New 52 happened, I thought that I was gonna get the same treatment that I got with Ultimates. You know, I thought that I was gonna get, that same fun feeling, and it was fun for a while, but then it stopped being fun. But anyway, I digress. Back to Mr. Mark Millar.
Poor Mike. I think it's Magic Order that you read, which actually was a favorite of mine that kind of got me back into the Mark Millar work. That was from Image Comics. I really liked Magic Order. That was one of the first episodes of book club that we did. It was just you and I.
That's true.
Very fun read. Mark Millar, very much. He's the guy who always was with Grant Morrison, would start something and then leave it, and then Mark Millar would end up taking over. And kind of eventually they had a feud, but they were both from Scotland. They kind of had the same path. He and Grant worked on Flash.
Yes.
Mark finally kind of started working his way around. He did. I
think they work on Swamp Thing too.
Constantine, maybe. I think it might have been. I can't remember exactly. I have the thing. Where he first got on my radar was Red Sun.
Ah, yes. Oh my God, yes. I think that was the first thing I read about him, but it was Ultimate X-Men what got me to buy more stuff by him.
So he also took over The Authority after Warren Ellis left, which The Authority was a book that I love. Stormwatch from Wildstorm became The Authority when Warren Ellis took over, which was like 20 issues of Warren Ellis doing Stormwatch before it became The Authority. And at a certain point, Mark Millar took over, and it started becoming very over the top, where it like a hyper violence, like a sadistic kind of thing to it. And while I liked it, it wasn't what I had loved the book for, but I felt like it was definitely the beginnings of becoming the Ultimates. Those sensibilities went into there, and the Ultimates, it might have architected the MCU to a degree, the movies.
I
agree.
I feel like the movies took a lot of the Ultimate Universe, you know, and
little from everything.
And I feel like the Ultimate Universe, at least at first, it was Mark Millar and Brian Michael Bendis, the ones that were making that whole thing work, and they were making it work perfectly. I legit enjoy a lot that Ultimate X-Men run. Like I still have those single issues because I love them so much. I don't want to get rid of them.
There definitely were things that got a little crazy with them. Bendis not so much, but Mark Millar took a lot of chances with, you know, very loved characters of the X universe where everybody gets real uptight when you mess with those characters.
It happens, but I think that they gave them enough freedom to do what they wanted to do.
I remember Grant Morrison, when he took over X-Men, the reaction to him blowing up Genosha and just resetting the status quo, and everybody was like,
"Oh my god,
yes. I don't like that." And Mark Millar, they're like, hey, here's this new playground for you to use where all the rules are out the book. You know, you throw out the book and you can go on this. And of course, you're going to start going wild. Like, I'd say where it got over the top, where he had Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver incestuous.
Like,
I remember when they first introduced it, I was like, whoa.
I thought it was really creepy. I mean, but
yeah.
But I that was one of the things that I like about that. You know, they were you know, they were playing with things that normally you wouldn't see. It was a little bit more edgier than usual, you know, but it's okay every once in a while, I think.
This is the stuff that shouldn't surprise me, because most of the people who came from that Judge Dredd writing for 2000 AD all have this like grim cynicism and snarky humor. Alan Moore, Garth Ennis. Yes, Grant with the Emma and Scott relationship, introducing that was fantastic, where she was invading his dreams. And it was interesting.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Now that would be interesting, because I think Grant would dive into the whole Harley Quinn being abused by Joker.
I think too much. I think he
would, a little bit. Like,
I think it'll be too much.
To the creepiness of it. But Mark Millar, it's crazy because at one end of the spectrum, you can have this hyper violent book like Kick-Ass, Nemesis, which is one that we'll talk about. I just reread that.
Oh man, I didn't. Sorry.
There's a heartfelt book or two that are about loss. Starlight, which I reread, which was him and Goran
Starlight. Starlight was really, really cool.
So I reread it, and reading it now versus when I read it then, I appreciate it so much more. And how basically it's like if Flash Gordon or, you know, John Carter from Mars came back to Earth, and his family, you know, he's told these stories about how he went to an alien world and everybody thinks he's a joke, a kook. And, you know, the spaceship comes back, his kids barely will talk to him, his wife just died from cancer. And God, it was like painful to read. And then I reread Reborn, which was Capullo's first work after Batman.
That one was a little bit disappointing.
It was disappointing, but there was this weird beauty to it about this is this person's afterlife.
Yes. It wasn't disappointing in the sense that it was a bad book. It was disappointing because it was not what I was expecting, which is different, you know. It's
but she sees her dad as like her savior in it, and then her dog that died when she was a kid is this like battle cat dog size thing that is with her. There was like this weird charm and beauty to it that I enjoyed, that like Capullo's, grim horror art put to this weird story of the afterlife. It was an interesting mesh. And then I don't know if you read this one, Huck.
Yes, I have. I think I've read at least the first volume of every Mark Millar Miller World book out there.
Huck was interesting because it was like a weird take on Superman, but with Superman being a simpleton.
Yeah, more of a Smallville Superman.
Sorta.
It reminded me of Superman for All Season in a like he tried. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I say he tried, but I can't say he tried because I don't know what was his original intent. But I feel like he tried to make him a very innocent character.
Very much so. Where he did the alternate when Red Sun, where he had, well, what if Superman landed in communist Russia and was indoctrinated?
What I like about Red Son is that even though that character grew up in communist Russia, in the motherland, that character always did the right thing. That it's like Superman's nature to, no matter what, he will always try and do the right thing. So no matter where you put him, his nature, it's more than whatever you can try to put in his head.
Very much so. And
that's what I love about that, because the idea of making this character, it's like Superman raised by Russians during the Soviet Union era. I thought it was like, man, that's gonna be lame as fuck. And then I read that book and I was like, oh shit, I love it. It's one of my favorite books. That one, Civil War, which I sometimes forget that he wrote Civil War. Holy shit, Civil War blew my mind when it came out.
So weirdly in my head, for some reason, I thought it was Bendis, but Bendis did Civil War too.
Yes, right. It was yes, exactly. exactly like that. You know what I like about books like Civil War, like Wanted, which we're gonna talk about the movie eventually, but one of the things that I like about his writing is that his writing feels very cinematic.
It feels like a script, almost like
yes. I think that, and I think that's why it has been easy for him to sell those properties to be translated to movies like Kick-Ass, but I feel like at some point, as much as I love his writing, I feel like at some point he just started to producing things, getting all his ideas out as fast as he could, and some of them felt a little bit rushed, or some of them feel a little bit cut short. You have issue 1, issue 2, super good. Issue 3, like, oh my god, there's no way we're gonna finish this in 4 issues. And then issue 4
up.
And then issue
real
4
quick
comes up, and it goes like, what? And it's over. It's like, okay, which I get it, but I feel like he needs to go back to doing 6 issues like Wanted, like Kick-Ass, so that they don't feel like at the end you're like running to I want to finish this book.
So you were very much right. He did do Swamp Thing with Morrison, and you look at the artists that they had on there: Phil Hester, Chris Weston, Phil Jimenez, Jill Thompson.
Wow.
He's always been very good at getting very good artists. So, but this is like early on in his career, he found these guys, or had these guys on these projects, because like I look at some of this, the Superman Adventures, which was based off of the cartoon, Mike Manley was doing art, his art I actually like.
Superman Adventures?
Yeah. That was his first DC gig.
Wow, I did not know that one. Holy shit.
So Action Comics, he had Stuart Immonen with him, which
Yeah.
Stuart Immonen, I feel, is a guy who doesn't get the respect he
Right.
deserves as an artist. Like, consistent, just very, very solid. He worked on the book Empress, which was a little underwhelming for me. But still, Steve Epting he worked with, who I love. Yannick Paquette.
He's worked with every big name artist in the industry. Literally every big name artist in the industry, he has done something with him.
But McNiven is his dude from between
I
Civil War, Old Man Logan.
Old Man Logan, holy shoot, that's right. Old Man Logan was another book that it's so many books that I didn't realize at
the
first. I didn't
2000s, he was
realize,
real busy.
yeah, that I was buying so many Mark Millar books, and then I realized one day, I was like, holy shit, I have Fantastic Four books, Wolverine books, Image book, a bunch of stuff that I didn't, for example, Fantastic Four is something that
With
I would
Hitch.
probably, yeah, it's probably that something that I wouldn't have picked up before, because it was, I mean, don't I have much respect for the Fantastic Four and their history and their, and all that, but I'm not a fan of the Fantastic Four, but I actually enjoyed both his trades that he did on, and the Ultimate Fantastic Four too. I was really enjoying his Ultimate Fantastic Four too.
Yeah. Ultimate X-Men, he worked with both Kuberts, Tom Rainey, David Finch, like Care Andrews. The Ultimates was with Brian Hitch. Ultimate Fantastic Four with Adam Kubert, Jay Lee, Greg Land. Carlos Pacheco on Ultimate Comics Avengers.
It's a lot.
Old Man Logan weirdly is an easy book to forget that he wrote.
Right? Yes, it's true. And he has another book with another Wolverine book called Enemy of the State too.
Yes, that was the first couple of issues with John Romita Jr.
John Romita Jr., yes.
They introduced Gorgon, if you've been reading the Krakoa X-Men. Gorgon was a member of the Quiet Council. And then he got the imprint Icon Comics, where Bendis had his line with Powers and stuff, and Jinx World, or Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, and the Kick-Ass came out. Nemesis came out in the imprint. Superior by Lionel Francis Yu, which was his take on basically like a Shazam type character.
Yeah.
The Secret Service, which is supposed to be coming out. Or did it come out for?
I actually haven't read that one.
Empress came out.
There's two books that I haven't read recently of his work.
For Image, Wanted came out on that. American Jesus, Jupiter's Legacy, which was a trilogy. Frank Quietly did the first one, and then the third series. And in between, Wilfredo Torres did some of the art. Tommy Lee Edwards.
There's Jupiter's Legacy and Jupiter's Circle.
And the third one.
The third one?
Yes. Jupiter's Legacy 2, Jupiter's Legacy Requiem. There was like 4 series.
I haven't read Requiem.
Starlight, which I recommend highly.
It's actually going on right now. It's on it says 1 through 12 issues with Tommy Lee Edwards, 2021-2023. Issues 1 through 3 are collectors as Jupiter's Legacy Volume 5. There it is.
Starlight, which came out with Goran Parlov, which I adored. The trade is called The Return of Duke McQueen, which just has a generic like cowboy name.
Yeah.
Or it sounds like a character from that Cars movie.
You know that? Oh my God, yes, Lightning McQueen.
Yeah.
MPH, I really like MPH. That one threw me off a little bit. The ending of that one was like, what?
Not to sound generic, but the ending came on quick. we were talking, but we talked about like how like endings happen, and you're just like, Wait, what the fuck? Like, we
Yeah,
condensed
yeah,
a lot of shit down in
yeah.
this issue.
Yeah, that ending came really fast. But that one didn't
One
feel that one didn't feel as rushed as Starlight felt, for example, or Hawk. I felt like it felt also a little bit,
well, Starlight was 6 issues.
then it was Hawk, the one that I'm thinking of. Then
Hook
which
was
one is it?
6.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading here. 6 issues. What is it that
The
I'm?
Magic Order was 4 issues, and that one jumped to the end real fast. Like, they cleaned that shit up super fast.
Yeah, I'm just confusing it with something else. I'm so sorry.
No, Magic
But
Order was 6 issues.
yeah. And Chrononauts is one of my favorites. And
I knew you were gonna get to this.
and there's a volume 2 that I haven't read yet.
Sean Gordon Murphy does the art on it, and it is one of the
first
most
one, yes.
It is the most brotastic books ever. Where like these two bros end up like traveling through time. Hijinks ensues. It's a fun book. It's
Yes.
just when you sit down and get down to the premise of it, you're like, these two guys are idiots.
Yeah, it's my idea of time traveling. In fact, I was working on a book with a friend about time traveling bodies similar to it, and that we never got it. We never got it off. We never got it off the first draft, but we might get to it at some point. But it was a little bit too similar to what Chrononauts end up being.
One of the funnier things is that Mark Millar worked on a Youngblood book.
What? I didn't know that.
It was called Bloodsport. He put out 1 issue and just stopped. He quit.
Shouldn't laugh like that.
It's just kind of funny. I remember Starlight when it was coming out. Rob Liefeld was jumping behind, but he did a cover to one of the issues, so that's why he was supporting it. And I think he was still trying to woo Mark Millar back to finish Youngblood.
I'm surprised he didn't finish that. And that's
nice. The fact that Rob's doing Whatnot auctions confounds me. Eyo, Carlito.
Carlito Clásico. Saludos.
My co-host on my movie show.
Nice. So what's your Miller world? Not his Marvel or DC work, but his Miller work. Which one's your favorite? Or I get more than one. It doesn't have to be just one.
So technically, his Icon stuff he owns. So are we considering that Miller world?
Yeah,
even though it was published by Marvel. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So anything that's written by him that's not Marvel or DC.
So I'd say recently Magic Order was probably my favorite, but Nemesis is such a fun, ridiculous villain book because it's a villain. Like it's the fact he wears a fucking white costume that just covered with blood constantly is fantastic. So Mark Millar, even if there's books that I don't necessarily like by him, I always find something in the book that will keep me going. I didn't necessarily love Chrononauts, but there was this humor that kept me, like the ludicrousness of the behavior of them.
Yeah. It's too crazy to not finish reading.
Very much so. He's one of the writers, though. He puts something out. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check it out. I don't know if it's for me.
Yeah.
Like I just read Nemesis Reloaded.
Is it out already?
Yeah, it just came out this past week. The first issue, Jorge Jimenez is doing the art in it.
Oh, that's perfect.
So it's nice, but it's a weird like reboot in a way.
Oh, okay. I mean, I get it. These some of these books are what 10 years old already. When was it that Nemesis came out? And it's one of those things that if you publish it 10 years ago and you didn't do anything again with it, and you
2011.
Yeah, and you're trying to do something now. You have to update it and refresh it because it's been in the back of the minds of people for a while. So people will be like, "Oh, Nemesis, what is that?" You know.
He put in
So
the
I get
foreword
it.
how weird it is to reboot his own book.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. I actually thought about doing that with my first book to redraw it because I see it now, and although I still like it, I'm like, oh man, there are some pages that I go like, oh.
It's interesting because I look at McNiven's art in this first Nemesis book, and I'm like, fuck, like if he didn't take so long to do his art, and I know that's totally an LCS brain of mine, but like,
Yeah.
I think about how much more prolific he would be, body of work wise.
But the thing is that would we enjoy his work as much if he worked faster? You know what I mean? Because the reason we enjoy his work, it's that the time that he takes on his work, it's a huge factor on the reason why we enjoy his work. You know?
And just to add to this, like, listen, there are some artists that it baffles me that they're able to put out a book on the monthly. Greg Capullo, honestly, if you followed him on Twitter and saw how much during Batman he was throwing out pages.
Yeah, but I think that comes not only with your skills as an artist, it boils down to discipline more than anything, you know, because you when you sit down to draw a page, you should you know, nail yourself down to that chair until you're done with that page, you know. And we dig around, and I say we because I suffer from the same thing. I sit down to draw a page and I get distracted and I walk around and I drink coffee and then I play video games and then I come back and do another panel and then I go play video games again and eat and then I have to go buy something and that's not something that he does, you know. He sits down on that table and he's drawing and he has a set schedule and he draws from this hour to this hour, and that takes a lot, you know. It takes a lot of discipline to keep that schedule and to keep that type of rhythm when you're working.
Well, he would play his guitar to get his fingers loose again.
Yeah.
And also, like, let's not Mark Bagley on Ultimate Spider-Man doing over 100 issues straight.
Yeah, that's
no joke.
No, I think it was more than 100, right? So close to
100 was the record, I think, for a title. So there's a lot of like discipline, and that's why I say, like, for the hyper detailed artists like Brian Hitch, I saw him on Twitter talking about how he uses oversized pages and layouts to add the detail in it for them to shrink down. He also draws on a standing table. He will not sit down and draw to keep his blood flowing. It's interesting. Super Crooks has the one artist that I had not. He's another guy who I think doesn't get the appreciation he deserves. Lionel Francis Yu, who did Superior as well.
Ah, yes.
Which people who read the New Avengers before the what was it? Not Secret War, Secret Invasion. He did a lot of that art with Bendis.
Yes. Lenil is it's another, but and that one actually works a little bit more faster than.
Yeah,
and it's very kinetic and very dynamic. That's the word I'm looking for.
I always joke around about how, in particular, John Romita Jr., his art is muddy, but for some reason, in particular, Mark Millar managed to bring out the best of him in Kick-Ass.
Right? I think that I feel the same thing.
Because it's weird because he brought this kinetic style to it that he never really exhibited before. And maybe it was just the pacing that the writing gave him of like, no, you need to get it to this pace that made him kind of have to change up. Which is weird because when I started reading X-Men, John Romita Jr. was the artist on X-Men for Uncanny.
Yep. Let me tell you how much I hated him when he was on X-Men back then. Oh my God. Oh my god, I was so stupid.
So
I was so mad. I was so mad that he was the artist at that time when
I
I
didn't know better, and then you had that series of like getting spoiled because, good God, we had Silvestri on it for God knows how long,
we had
and I didn't
Silvestri.
appreciate it, and then went from Silvestri to Jim fucking Lee.
Yeah, we had Silvestri, Jim Lee, Portacio,
Yeah, like
back to back, and then
yeah,
suddenly,
it was just this weird era of like, fuck, like, and then even X Factor had was it Walt Simonson on it for a little bit?
I
New
think
Mutant
so.
New Mutants had Sienkiewicz during those days for a little bit before they got Liefeld and some
Yes, that
other
was
in between artists.
in the beginning of the New Mutants. Yes.
Yeah, and then X Factor later when they had Havoc leading the team had Larry Stroman, who coming from the oh god, what was the universe that they just brought back in DC with the African American owned characters with
Milestone.
Milestone. Yeah, he was a Milestone
Yeah.
artist that managed to get over after
Oh,
Milestone.
look at that! I did not know that. Huh? I did not
And
pay attention to Milestone back then.
he brought this interesting style to the book where it was kind of loose, kinetic, almost like animated. And it was interesting, but it's weird because I feel like the 90s basically bubbled over in Mark Millar and he took it to like this whole other, like, I wouldn't say it's hyper violent, but
I think
it's
I think that the nineties are were violent on every, that was where it was going with the comic books because of Image, and because of Image, Image was,
yeah.
I blame Image, and it's not a bad thing. We needed Image to, we needed somebody to shake things up, because let's be honest, at that point we were starting to get, you know uh stagnant is the word, like, so we needed something that would shake things up, and that's what Image did, and after Image came out, everything had to, like, it gravitated to be a little bit more grittier, darker, and violent, which, it was not new to them.
No.
But they made it a little bit more, like, I can say mainstream, but they call a lot of attention to it, by doing these over the top things on almost every single issue.
Well, but we've both watched that Image documentary that had all the Image
Yeah,
founders.
yeah.
So there's a part in it where they walk across the street to DC Comics. In what alternate reality, if DC had just said, sure, we'll let you own all your shit, like, what would those ramifications have been? Like,
I mean, I think we have a glimpse of that, of what that word would have been, because we have Jim Lee at DC and we have Wildstorm at DC.
I feel
So,
like Todd McFarlane never would have said yes anyway. It was just like a fuck
oh
you.
yeah, no, he wouldn't have, definitely he wouldn't have. But I feel like we would have seen, I don't know, I we wouldn't have seen the same Wildcats, and the same Spawn and the same Youngblood if it was published by DC. Even if DC would have let them, do your own thing. This is your own imprint, whatever, and you own your shit. They would be like, do you think you can tone it down on that gore there a little bit? Because it's what what they did.
Yeah, because the one thing you learn from watching that documentary, Todd was hell bent on. He didn't like the way he was being treated. He didn't like the way some of the elders were treated, and he basically had the thing of like, "Fuck this, I'm out. I'm gonna make
Yeah.
my own way, one way or another."
And it's honestly a little bit disappointing, now that I'm older, and that that bubble of excitement and emotion for DC or Marvel, it's broken. You know, now that you're older and you see a bunch of the realities that we were blind to back then, or that we didn't know about because we didn't have the access to the internet, to the information that we have now because of the internet. You know, and I lost my train of thought. So let's go somewhere else. Sorry.
So basically, the 90s, it gave a lot of creators who didn't have an opportunity chances to get in, especially after all of these artists left. So there was a void. There was a creative void left at the two big agencies. DC very much had turned to animated, like Batman the Animated Series, stuff like that was huge for them. Well, Batman always has been a moneymaker for them. But the Vertigo ended up being the doorstep for a lot of creators coming in. Still, like to this day, I feel like the Black Label is. I feel like without Vertigo, Mark Millar might not have gotten into mainstream American comics.
Oh, a lot of these creators wouldn't have gotten into mainstream comics if it wasn't for Vertigo. Artists and writers, you know? It's not just him. It's this thing's uncomfortable. It's not just him. It's a lot, and I think that move from this that power play that they did leaving Marvel and going and doing, like, we're gonna do our shit on Image. You know, like I said, at the time it was something that it was needed. It's like right now we need something to shake things up, because I don't know. I feel like DC. I haven't felt like I want to read a DC book in a while, and that sucks. You know. Same with Marvel. I'm still reading all the X-Men stuff, but aside from X-Men, I don't feel like I want to read anything else.
So, like, I always joke about I have a weird abusive relationship with Spider-Man. Where every 10 years I feel like I quit that book because it gets stagnant. They're not taking. It's your flagship book. You're putting subpar artists and subpar writers on a flagship book.
Damn.
This is your icon. Like it's like Batman or Superman for DC.
Yeah.
You got to put your best talent, and I don't feel like for Spider-Man they're doing it. And I do remember at one point they did the Marvel Knights Spider-Man, and they put Terry Dodson and Mark Millar on it.
The one that Mark Millar wrote. Yeah. I love that book. Holy shit, that book was so good. 12 issues. Amazing. That's what I'm saying. You have to give Mark Millar enough issues, you know, past 6. You have to give him past 6, you know, issues. Give him enough time for him to give you something that when he gets to the end, you feel like, oh man, that was a nice ride, you know? Because 4-6 issues, at some point he goes like,
he's also in the position where he can just pick and choose what he wants to do. Like, he
can take his time. Course. Oh yeah, definitely. He can definitely choose what he wants to do or how he does it now, you know?
But he's an interesting character because he will take you on these hyper violent rides and then take you on this strange, maybe violent but sentimental journey, like Starlight and Reborn. Even though Reborn, it takes a while to get to where it's going.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of weird when he started going into the family thing, and there was the family dynamics of Magic Order. Once you finally dig into it, past like the glib humor, which there's going to be a Magic Order 4 apparently.
What? There's a Magic Order 3?
Yep.
Damn, I'm behind. I'm really behind with my reading. Oh damn.
I keep trying to catch up, and
it's too much.
So I'm 2 weeks behind now.
Wow, I'm still a few months behind. I'm in January last year on books. On my book.
So I made a major move to paring down my physical pickups. So basically, the books I'm buying physically are literally only the books I want to collect.
Yeah.
And then everything else I'm reading digitally.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm moving to do too. I don't have space anymore, and
Yeah.
have
So of course I'm picking up Philadelphia still. I'm picking up all of Rodney's stuff.
yeah.
I mean, not just because he's a friend of the channel, but because
It's a
he's a
good book.
he's a good writer.
It's a good book.
I just pre-ordered. Well, I've pre-ordered. It comes out in 2 weeks. The trade that he did on the black exploitation movie Blackula. He's taking it on a. He's making it a very real book.
Oh, nice.
It's him and Jason doing
sweet.
it. It's a graphic novel. I pre-ordered it from Amazon. Comes out on my birthday, January 31st.
What? Oh my god, your birthday is in this month.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
And I will be debuting the return of the Longbox Paradox. It'll be a monthly show with my new co-host, Tessa is a Nerd.
Nice.
I want Jen back, but she is not ready to come back to YouTube
When
anytime
she's ready.
soon. Yeah. But she is always welcome. And John's Comics started a movie show talking directors. So we're going to be doing the director Michael Mann, and it's going to be me, myself, Carlito, Bearded Comic Bro, Fire Guy Ryan. A lot of assholes in one room.
Oh my god.
And I'm going to end up doing an hour on Al Pacino in Heat.
Oh wow.
And how over fucking top he is. Which it's weird because I desperately, when it becomes my turn, I want to talk about Robert Rodriguez.
Yes.
I feel like he has the most interesting movie career, especially with El Mariachi.
I remember when El Mariachi came out, how it was a big deal.
Well, for the budget he did it on.
Yeah.
He's just a fascinating character, and then he, gets Antonio Banderas to do Desperado. And Antonio Banderas is so over the top.
The whole movie is over the top.
I'm looking for a bucho. But there's something so lovable about that movie. So we got some stuff on it. This show is going to continue. I definitely want to get Sid on. I feel like it's time to talk Preacher.
Yes. Oh my god, we were long overdue about
because also we're coming close to the anniversary of the passing of the artist.
Oh, really? Oh man.
Yeah, it's
been what, like 5 years now?
Yeah. And we talk about artists that I don't think get appreciated enough. And that is one of them because his style is so, I wouldn't say cartoony.
I wouldn't say cartoony. It's
unique. You knew who you were looking at when.
Yes. He got some good storytelling though. He was really good.
Very much so.
Storytelling was really good. So I can't say anything bad about Dylan. I didn't like it at first. I admit.
Same here.
Again. Back then when I was younger, if it didn't look like Joe Madureira, Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, Greg Capullo, and Greg Capullo at the time was a little bit different than what his work looks like with Batman, but I still love his work on X-Force back then, and then on Spawn. But if it wasn't any of those flashy, artists, I wasn't into any of them. I thought they were boring, and now and now older, years later, I see some of this book and I'm like, oh man, how stupid I was.
So I can appreciate really great flashy art, but then I'm to the point. There was, I want to say it was Doug Mankey. There was a silent issue of Batman when Damian died, and the storytelling with no words was so fantastic, just moving it along where you could read emotion.
There's 2 issues of Detective Comics during that era that were silent, and it wasn't Doug Mankey or I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I apologize. But I will look that up because I love those episodes, those 2 issues.
Yeah, it was an artist and writer who always worked together, and I'm blanking on it. They was it Detective or Batman and Robin?
New 52 Detective Comics Silent Issues. Bam. Let me see. Mira,
Batman and Robin 18.
Oh, there you go. Bam. Damn it.
Patrick Gleason.
It wasn't
Peter
Detective
Tomasi.
Comics.
And it was genius. You were close because there was a detective issue where they actually, when that happened, where Bruce cries to, of course, Alfred is the, keeping the peace. I recommend, it was Batman and Robin number 8 or 18. Anyway, it's a brilliant issue. It's silent. It's beautiful. Even the cover, it's just the boots.
Yeah. I love silent issues. I love to. There's a Batgirl book. I think it's called Endgame.
Yeah. Silent Wings or something. It was the original Batgirl with Damian Scott doing the art, where she's trying to save someone's life and she can't, and it was all silent.
I don't remember.
It was the oh god, I can't remember her name now. It was with the black suit Batgirl for that series.
No. It was
it's on the newer Batgirl.
It was the Batgirl that had the Babstar design.
Okay. It was actually an annual then, I think.
I think it was an annual
doing art.
Yes, I think it was an annual. That one was a really good issue too. And there's a Conan issue by Esad Ribic that it's a silent issue, and it's amazing because it's all painted and it's all silent and it's
so how long before Mark Millar gets Esad Ribic to do a book?
You know what? Because I was thinking about just now. Like
I feel like he's got a Conan type book in him,
right? I am so. We should send him an email like, "Hey, dude, you have not done a Conan type book, and you should do it with this artist."
I mean, so when Grant Morrison was on Kevin Smith's podcast, he talked about how Grant had sent a letter with his art to Marvel saying, "Hey, whenever Barry Windsor Smith's ready to retire, I'm ready to take over Conan." Like it's so just Grant Morrison, where it's like 18-year-old kid.
I'm ready to take over this dude whenever he's ready to retire. The balls you have to say that.
By the way, I finally read Monster by Barry Windsor Smith. That's a big book. That's a big fucking book.
That's why I have not read it, because it's too big. That's what she said.
So, what is overall your favorite Mark Millar book?
From DC, I would have to say it's the Red Son book. From Marvel, it's Civil War. And from everything else, it's a little bit difficult. I have, I think it's Wanted, but also Kick-Ass takes they're like right there. So I don't know which one of those two I would choose over the other. You know,
you gotta tell people, like, just remove what you know of Wanted if it's just the movie. The book and the movie are two different fucking things. Like, he fights a shit monster. He literally fights a shit monster.
Yeah. No, that's Unwanted, I think. I don't remember. It's his name is Shithead. Yeah.
Yes.
The Wanted movie.
They played it safe.
In comparison, the Wanted movie, in comparison to the Kick-Ass movie with the book, you know, if let's take those two examples.
Compare and contrast.
Yeah. Wanted movie and Wanted book. I was so excited when they announced that we're going to do a Wanted movie. I was like, oh my God, we're going to get a Wanted movie. And it's going to be amazing. And then I saw a trailer and I was like, well, that looks slightly different to what I remember
Curve the
reading.
bullet.
That's slightly different to what I. And then when I saw the movie, and I was like, "Fuck." I think that's the
Which
first time that I was disappointed in an adaptation, like fully 100% disappointed.
which made me worry about Nemesis, because Nemesis is so balls to the wall. Like, I don't see how that can come out.
But I think he would do it differently now.
But it's evil Batman, basically. It's
Yeah,
literally
but I think he would, like, for example, I think the problem we wanted was
big
the
studio.
studio that was handling it, and I think that doing something like Nemesis, now that he has Netflix to be able to do something like that, if they do it for Netflix, they can get away with do things a little bit more violent and more like we want it to be versus what the Wanted movie was versus the book, like, because it does not at all nothing except the name is the only thing that's similar to the book.
I'm waiting for the Magic Order trailer because I know they've been filming that series.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I had a weird thing where, like, Lock and Key I was super excited for, and then I watched the series and I was like, this isn't the
Really, I've heard
same.
good things. I've heard good
It
things
was
about the series, about that
it was
series.
good. They took some liberal changes, which, I mean, goddamn, when the series starts with a fucking home invasion, seeing someone's parents get fucking murdered, like, I get it where you tone down certain things. It was weird that I got very, like, well, that's not mine, and I hate that I get like that. But there's certain, which weirdly, when the Logan movie came out, I never went, well, that's not Old Man Logan, because it is Old Man Logan, but it's not Old Man Logan.
It's a version of Old Man Logan.
Yeah, but
I
they did it so well.
again, with that one, I was the same thing. I was like, oh, so it's not Old Man Logan, right? Because at first that's what I thought it was going to be, and that was the rumor was going around. I think I might be mistaken, but I always thought at first that it was going to be that. But then I realized that it was not going to happen. So this is not going to happen because there's a lot of things in that book that are very Marvel specific,
Yes.
So it's not going to happen. So I just gonna have to go and wait and see what I'm going to see and see what happens with this movie. And it turns out to be, I think, the best Wolverine movie of all of those Wolverine movies.
The one thing I thought very much was, if they ever go further with that and decide to have X-23, the girl from Prey, Amber Midthunder, would 100% be my Laura.
Yeah. I think
My
I would.
God,
I
Prey
think
was so good.
I think I would have her do Moonstar, Danny Moonstar from
She
New
was.
Mutants.
She was.
Oh, she was.
Yeah, in that fucking horrible New Mutants movie.
I don't remember watching that movie.
I wish Jen hadn't watched it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
I can give you my movies anywhere if you want to watch it, man. Like, bro, like, it hurt because I was so jazzed for when I was like, oh, it's gonna be a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the girl from Split is playing
Yes,
Magic.
Which I think that's a great casting for that character.
It was, until she started talking and the lines she was given were fucking garbage.
Oh.
So there's ways to ruin it, and, like, they're honoring
That's
Bill
one of them.
they're honoring Bill Sienkiewicz, but they're just fucking him at the same time.
It's like a backhanded compliment.
Like, and I'll give Bill Sienkiewicz credit. He went out there and he championed that movie to get made. And my God, if there's anybody I want to see Mark Millar work with and do like a weird book with, Bill Sienkiewicz would be it.
That would be pretty cool.
Like a supernatural book, because I don't think Mark Millar's done many supernatural books other than the Magic Order, but like,
yeah, and I don't feel it's magic, but I don't.
yeah,
When I think of supernatural, I don't go with magic orders.
No.
I think there's magic involved, but I think of when I think of supernatural, I think of demons and supernatural, like the series Supernatural.
Yeah. Because I mean, Moon Knight, somewhat supernatural. When
Yes.
Sienkiewicz did it, and then New Mutants, he did make supernatural with the Demon Bear.
Yes, I've been wanting
which was the enemy in the movie, but not done well.
Shame. Shame.
It was because like I bought the 4K of it to see the extra footage because I'm a fucking asshole.
No. I would have bought the 4K extra thingy with the extra toppings and all the good things because it's how we are. I would have done the same thing.
Jay Lee is another person that I want to see more of in the Millar-verse or Miller-verse.
What has he's never done anything with him?
He did. It was just Ultimate FF. He did Ultimate FF with him, but just a couple of issues. But Jay Lee's another one of those artists I think.
Yes. I met him in Puerto Rico like last year.
Doesn't get the credit he deserves.
He does not, right? He does not.
I find that with a lot of artists I like now where I'm like, why aren't they bigger? But I guess it just comes with getting on the right book.
Yeah, I would say getting on the right book with the right writer.
Yeah, because I will say, like, the Philadelphia artist, Jason Sean Alexander, which I still say, and if I ever get to interview him, I'm going to ask him flat out, like, is Bill Sienkiewicz a huge influence on you? Because it looks like him and this other artist, Ashley Wood, had a child together. The art styles merging. But this is a guy, like, every issue, I've kind of seen his art get better, and I think that's getting comfort with the characters and such. But, I mean, his work on Spawn, it was just all shadows and dark inking. And this is becoming an art show but
it's impossible not to talk about art when you're talking about comic books. It's a visual medium,
It is.
The writing is it's very important, but also the drawings in a book on a comic book. The whole point of a comic book is the panels and these characters and all this the art, the storytelling, the visual storytelling.
There was a writer that I saw an interview with, and he talked about the hardest thing to do is get an artist for the Flash, because everything has to be hyperkinetic and moving fast.
Oh yeah,
and there's not a lot of artists who can pull off that kinetic style. And I feel like Jeff Johns was able to keep finding guys during his run between Scott Collins and a couple of other of the guys he had, where it was like, man, like I get it, because everything has to be in motion. So is there a character or book that you'd love for Mark Millar to take a shot at, even though he's only doing creator-owned stuff at this point?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Like, is there like from any of the big two, is there a character that you'd love for him to take a crack at? And
I think that we've basically seen him do every major character already from most of those. I think from Marvel we've seen him tackle the X-Men. We've seen him tackle the Avengers. The whole Marvel universe with Civil War. So I don't know. Who would I want him to see?
I have a universe I think I haven't seen him touch, and I'd love to see his take on it. Chaos.
Huh.
Like, I'd love to see his evil Ernie, or like even touching on like Vampirella, even like just to see what he would do.
Yeah. Those characters that are published by Dynamite now.
Yeah, like even for DC, like I'd love to see him do like a weird fucking Zatanna book or the Demon Etrigan.
You know what? Those are actually good ideas.
Like touch something that hasn't been touched in a while. Like kind of stick your finger in it and just keep
right. I feel like these two companies need to do that. They need to to tap into those characters that they haven't touched in a while, because like I said, I go to the comic book store and I see DC stuff, and all I see is Batman, and I love Batman, but
it's too much.
I don't want to read Batman.
So I will, as much as I've fucked
Everywhere,
with this writer, Tom King's Human Target has been very good.
Really?
It's when he touches characters that you don't know and you
don't care about.
Well, no, when you see them fleshed out, like we've seen a million things with Batman fleshed out or humanized, but the Human Target's a dude nobody cares about.
Yes.
Miracle Man, another character nobody cared about. He did one with Adam Strange that I thought was pretty good.
The Strange Adventures book?
It was okay.
It was okay. It was. I felt with that one that I was reading Mr. Miracle again.
The Human Target feels more like a James Bond book.
Yeah,
except
I'm gonna give it a try.
Except with the JLI, because Guy Gardner's part of it, Fire and Ice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so like there's
wasn't that the book that Guy Gardner was frozen and then broken into pieces?
He may or may not be dead in it.
Oh, okay, but that happened, right? I'm not.
It's been a good series. Like it's 10 issues in. I think it's 12 issue run.
Fine, I'll read it.
So, what I've learned is it's a better trade read. His books than they are single issues.
I agree with you.
So I did kind of like the Batman Catwoman that he did that had the the Phantasm in it from Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Better trade read, and it takes place in the future, so Batman's long dead now. His daughter is the new Batwoman.
Okay.
And she's a lesbian.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll try it.
It's disjointed as fuck, though. It jumps through time repeatedly, so it's annoying as fuck. So I'm sorry, we've gone off topic. Mark Millar.
I would like to see him do something with Lobo, though. All jokes aside. A single issue, at least. You know.
By the way, I gotta ask: did Philomena's like your story post about the page?
I don't know. I know he didn't. Okay, but I wasn't expecting him to like it either. You know,
because it's so random and obscure. I don't know if a lot of people know Philomena's even worked on that book.
Yeah. I didn't know he worked on that book, and I have that book.
So Lobo. I kind of sit here and think about who would be the artist I'd want on it. And I want something Frazetta-ish.
Yeah, you can have Esa Ribic do a Lobo book with Mark Millar, and that would be an amazing book, and I will buy 10 copies of it.
Riccardo Federici.
Yes. Oh shit. Yeah.
Oh my god. So The Last God, there might be only 3 people in this world who love that book, but John's Comics and Fire Guy Ryan are 2 of the other people besides myself. Never have I ever bought a book where the interiors were better than the cover.
What's it called?
The Last God.
The Last God.
It's only available in hardcover and softcover, and it's expensive because it's a big book. I bought it during an Amazon sale. But if you like Lord of the Rings, like hyperkinetic art,
that's really nice.
So basically, in a nutshell, It is if the Fellowship went to kill Sauron, failed, and lied that they saved the world.
We saved the world
because literally they left going, I mean, maybe.
I don't know if we kill him or not.
Yeah, like they knew they fucked up, but they didn't know how bad they fucked up. So the one guy becomes king because save the world. And then the infection comes back, and it's body horror because this infection, it's like thorns come out of people's bodies and like mutate them.
Tasty.
It's interesting, but the art is so good, and it really got me on the Philip Kennedy Johnson train, which his Action Comics and Alien series that he put out have been very good. Action Comics in particular with the Warworld series, and I hate Mongol. Made it very interesting.
I stopped reading. I wanted to enjoy the Brian Michael Bendis Superman.
It just wasn't good.
And I was so disappointed, so sad, because I was so looking forward to read that.
Scott Snyder's also was terrible with the Superman Unchained with Jim Lee.
Oh my God. That was another book that I thought that it was going to be amazing. And so it was like, what happened here?
Well, it really got into my head of like, there's certain writers who don't have the voice of certain characters.
Oh, I agree. And I don't think that I think that Superman is not an easy character to write, especially after 80 years of history in this character, because everything, it's really difficult to top everything that's been done already.
So we've had Mark Millar do a great Superman story because it's so weird in Red Sun.
Yes.
Superman for All Seasons. Probably top 3 Superman stories.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, pretty easily, I'd say, because it's so heartfelt. Grant Morrison's the All-Star Superman almost brought me to tears last time I read it.
Oh yeah, that's a really good book.
Alan Moore's For the Man Who Had Everything, the birthday issue.
But it's a single issue, right?
It's a single issue or giant size. John Byrne's Man of Steel.
Yes.
Limited series with a reinvention of the origin. Really good. So you've got your staples there. Death of Superman, it is what it is. I just remember it being a cultural moment of like,
I love Death of Superman. That's one of my favorite storylines. That's one of my favorite stories. It's very dear to me. I will hold and I will defend that story. I will fight anyone over it. That one's on my top Superman stories. With the ones that you mentioned, it includes the Death of Superman, hands down. It has to be there.
I would even put in was it Infinite Crisis, where Superman, the one that was lost during the Earth 2, who comes back and they're all fighting Superboy Prime.
Oh, that was supposed to be Final Crisis, I think.
No, it was it was after Identity Crisis. I think it was Infinite Crisis, where they killed.
Yeah, that's the one where the villain is Superboy Prime. Yes.
Yeah, but I thought that was a decent Superman story because it's what makes Superman Superman.
Yes.
And I think that gets lost every now and again, like why we are supposed to like Superman. There was also the story that had their version of the Authority, where it had Manchester Black.
Yes, the Elite.
Yes, the Elite with Truth, Justice, the American Way.
Yeah, I didn't. But at that time, I wasn't reading anything Superman related.
The animated movie was actually pretty good.
Yes, it was pretty cool. I have that one. And the new one came out. The Superman, the one with the Superboy and Robin together just came out.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's on. I saw it on HBO Max. I haven't seen it, but I know that it's there. Saw it this morning.
I did see the Red Sun animated. That is out there.
Yes, I love that one too.
It was very well done. It didn't miss a lot from the trade, which is very rare to say. Because there's a bunch of the animateds where they kind of twist stuff to make it fit. Weirdly, I think one of the truest of the animated is Under the Red Hood.
Yeah,
that one.
Oh my god, that one's a really good one.
Was dead on. It made so Under the Red Hood is what made me love Black Mask, which I would love Mark Millar to write a mini about Black Mask, because that is a character like you could do sadistic weird shit with. Because I'm at the point
some shit with him.
I don't need more Joker. I'm done with Joker. I want to see more of the other characters.
I agree.
So I'm reading that Mark Silvestri Batman that came out, Deadly Duo, with him and Joker. The art's phenomenal. It's just, it has Joker in it.
It's just another Joker book, you know? It's just...
Yeah, but the fact they gave Mark Silvestri all this time to do the interiors, so they gave him until he was done.
I mean, it's the
6
only
years.
way that... Yeah, it's
6 years.
6 years, wow.
I saw pages back 5 years ago.
Yeah.
That my friend took pictures of and never showed me.
6 years. But now we have a book that is coming out regularly, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's 6 issues and it's coming out regularly.
Yep. It took an issue a year.
But it's okay. But now we get them. Now we don't have to wait. But imagine that he published one and then something happened.
It just
and then
sat.
6 months later, you get issue 2. And then 8 months later, you get issue 3. And then you were lucky and you got issue 4 the next month. But then for issue 5, you have to wait a fucking year. No.
I remember doing this with Youngblood.
Oh my god! I mean, I never read Youngblood.
So I'll just say it outright. Todd McFarlane knew that he couldn't hit a monthly at a certain point. He brought in Greg Capullo to ghost him. Never gave Capullo credit until people started going, "That's not you." It took 6 issues for people to realize that it wasn't McFarlane.
He was ghosting him?
Yep, he was ghosting him. Huh. He didn't give him credit for 6 issues, and then finally, back in the trades, he credited him.
Yeah.
And then Capullo took over the book after he got it.
Yes.
So McFarlane inked him to look exactly like his stuff.
Yeah, of course.
Just it looked a little rushed. But McFarlane knew damn well he was the only person besides Eric Larson who was putting out books on time.
Yep.
And they were getting fucking ridiculed left and right.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny that like the same thing happened with Cliffhanger? When Cliffhanger came out with Danger Girl, Batter Chasers, and Crimson, you know, people went crazy over Batter Chasers.
Umberto was the only person who put out.
This is it. Batter Chasers is the book, and then Danger Girl. This is the other one. This is it. And then there was Crimson, and people were like, yeah, that's a cool book, you know. And then of all three, the only book that was consistent from the beginning up until the last issue of it and told the whole story that he wanted to tell was Crimson.
And Umberto Ramos, nicest creator I've met.
Yeah.
His English isn't the best, but he took time to sit with me. He went through, like, he's like, oh, are those all my books? He's like, I'll sign them all. Nice. And he's like, hey, you brought all this. Let me do a headshot. He's like, who do you want?
That's
I was like,
cool.
Jesse Quick from Flash. He's like, done.
It
was
awesome.
Weird. He was so nice. And it's the same vibe I got from George Perez.
Yeah.
Because George Perez, and let me tell you, at MegaCon Orlando, you wouldn't think George Perez was a big deal because he wasn't creating at that level. To Latin Americans, he's an icon who are into comics.
Yes.
His line was, so George would have a translator in line to let everybody know what the time limit was.
Mm-hmm.
And George would take every moment with every person in line, take a moment to have a conversation. Yeah. And that meant more to me than anything else.
Yeah, man. I
Because,
think that's really important, for creators to take time and spend time with that person that it's making a line for you. It's been there for maybe half an hour, 2 hours if you're a big creator, if you're a big name creator, and the least you could do is like give that person 5-10 minutes and talk to them a little bit.
and also, like, there'd be people bringing stacks of books,
Yeah,
and
I
he would flat out say, "Hey, first 10's free.
yeah.
For $5, I'll do the rest, but I'm not making that money. It's donating
Yeah, it's
to
donated. But if
the hero fund."
I feel like, and I feel like that's when you go to see it, when I go to see an artist that and I want them to sign a book for me, that I want them to sign a book. Like, for example, if I'm when I went to meet Keith Giffen, I took 2 books. I could have taken 25 books, 100 books, a whole box. I took 2 books. I feel like
There's too
you
much.
taking
There's a point.
yeah you taking 15, 20, a whole short box of books for the creator to sign. It's abusive.
Abusive.
It's abusive, and what you're doing, and that that you are taking advantage of this creator by having him sign for you 300 books, completely unnecessary. You don't need 300 books signed. Come on. No.
Ooh, I
No.
have this weird thing. Ethan Van Scriver, horrible with the comic gate and all that shit.
Yeah.
Years and years ago, probably 2000. I had a friend who was very sick with heart disease, and my goal was to have my friend love Cyberfrog. Before anybody knew anything about Ethan Van Scriver, my friend loved that book.
Mhm.
So Ethan was set up there, and I said, "Hey, can you do a Cyberfrog sketch for my friend? He's in the hospital. He might die." Ethan did it. I'm going to hand him the money, and he's like, "No, I'm not taking it. Like, I went extra on it. Here you go." So my memory of Ethan
It's a good one.
is that. So when I see all this other stuff, I'm like, "Oh, dude,
It kind of puts a stain on that nice moment.
But I have to remember this beautiful thing he did for my friend." And then I caught him at another con, and I bought one of his trade paperbacks, the hardcovers of Detective at the time, for I think New 52. And he's like, "What character do you like?" I was like, "Catwoman." He did a detailed fucking headshot
That's
inside
nice.
the book, and I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah. I've heard that about him. That he's really good with his fans.
So like I have this weird, I see this stuff, and then I have this mental image, and then like I met Garth Ennis at MegaCon.
That's
I've
awesome.
never met someone so hungover in their life, because I walked
Sounds
up with
about
my
right.
trade, and I was like, "Hey, can you sign it?" I was like, "Man, the work you're doing, I owe you a pint." He's like, "You mentioning a pint makes me want to throw up right now." And I was like, "Oh."
I
And
see.
like I have this memory. Same with Philomena's. Like I was working at a comic store at the time, and they were all having lunch, and I sat down because I was working a booth with our local comic shop over here. So I sat down, and they're like, "Hey, what do you think of Philomena's?" I was like, "I mean, does a really great George Perez imitation on Wonder Woman." And they're like, "Oh, we thought you were going to say something horrible because that's Philomena sitting right across from you." I was like, so he spilled the
That's
whole tea
awesome.
about what he was doing on Identity Crisis, the one shot where he killed Blue Beetle. And I was like, "Wait, you're killing Blue Beetle?" "No." And he put in my head, he's like, "Hey, think about Superman. Think about what we love about Superman." And he's like, "Turn that on its head." He's like, "Does the world need that Superman?" And I sat there and I thought about it for a while. I found him again at the con. I was like, "You know what? You're right." Like, and then I read Identity Crisis and Infinite Crisis when it came. I was like, "Fuck." But it's interesting the memories we get from people we meet.
Right?
They're
I've only had one bad experience, and it was online with a creator. I'm not gonna go into it right now,
yeah.
but that one bad experience. But I've always, I am always afraid when I go meet a creator that I will catch him in a bad moment, or that they're an asshole, and it will ruin it for me, you know. And I'm
I'm
always afraid that that's going to happen.
I almost got into a fist fight with a creator.
Oh, that's awesome.
He was such an asshole to me at his table.
Ah,
Like it, and at the time I was very loose with what came out of my mouth because I didn't
yeah.
give a fuck. And it got very contentious, and Michael Turner had to break it up.
Oh shit. Damn,
Yeah, it
that's
was
a
at the
memory
top.
right
It was at
there.
the top cow table.
That's a memory right
Um,
there.
I was not proud of it, and then I found out later that the creator had problems with dealing with the public and would drink a lot to deal with it.
Damn.
So things made sense. I didn't feel bad about it, but I
Yeah,
still was
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I get it. It did make me not want to buy the person's books again, and I kind of hate that because I did like the artist.
Yeah. Shame.
It kind of sucks. I've always found the writers to be nicer than the artists,
Yes.
if that makes sense.
Yes.
Although the Archie artist Dan Parent, nicest dude you could ever walk across.
Yeah, I did his panel in Puerto Rico a few years ago. It was so nice. It was so fun to host that panel. It's one of those creators that I'm really happy that I got to, you know, uh, work with them in that capacity, at least, you know.
I've thought about trying to get Scott Snyder to come on the show, and I get scared.
You should reach out. You should. He was really cool when I that was he was my first panel ever. The first panel I hosted was his, and I was so anxious and I was so nervous, and he was such a cool dude, like such a cool dude. So yeah, you should reach out. The worst thing that's gonna happen is that could happen is that he say I can't. You know.
Yeah, like Gail Simone's another one because I shared a story with her that I never want to have come up again if she remembers who I am because I was going through a rough patch in life, and weirdly one of her Birds of Prey issues stopped me from doing something stupid because it made me start laughing.
Well, that's great.
But it was just one of those things that I shared it with her, and then she kind of retweeted it, and then I started getting a lot of weird comments.
Ah,
Um, but Gail is somebody, as far as writing goes, that I always really liked.
yes, and she's really cool too.
She's very humorous. Mark Millar's weirdly one of the creators I like, and I have never gotten a chance to meet. He's never been in a show I've been at.
Same. Oh, I guess that we lost Dan. Let's see what happened. Are we still live, or uh, or did this thing completely drop?
Okay, sorry, my
There you are.
out. Stuart
Tripped out for a second. You leave me alone. I said, "What are you doing now?"
Stuart Immon's a guy I got to talk to. Basically was like, I wish you were bigger. It's weird. Like you get in the lines and you sit there and you finally get up to meet the people and you're like, I don't know why you're not bigger. And it's a dumb thing to come out of my mouth, but like literally he's an artist. I just don't understand why he's honestly not regarded higher. Consistent art flows.
Right? Recognizable.
Yeah, actually very personable too. Like he was incredibly nice.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've said Capullo was probably one of the nicer guys
Oh,
you've
dude, he
met.
was. Yeah. I am the year when I met him in Puerto Rico. I wasn't doing the panels yet, so I didn't get to work with him that way. But he does remember me that I when I met him, I was dressed as Lobo. So every time I see him in a convention, he calls me the main man, and I get
Wait, that's the dude. Like
yeah.
Capullo and Millar doing Lobo.
That would
That's
be
it.
amazing. Yeah, that would be great.
I mean, there was the thing in death metal, whatever, the extreme, where they were like, "What are you, Frazetta Batman?"
Dude, I love that so much, and I love that series. But it was wild, you know. That I don't know what happened to those death metal books. You know, they were they were pretty cool. Don't get me wrong, they were pretty cool, but they were very heavy metal ish. You know what I mean? When I say heavy metal, I mean heavy metal
The
magazine. They
book,
were out there. You know? Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
I It's weird because I was just like, I don't know what's going on with this, why this exists.
Right? It's like what are
Because
we
literally they took this weird demon thing that showed up in a Peter Milligan issue 20 years earlier and we're like, we're going to make this the big bad Barbatos.
we're gonna make this thing roar.
And it was fascinating, but at the same point, I'm like, what is the point other than to reboot the universe again?
I thought the point was just to make a fun, wild story, you know.
It was, and like I felt like it was Scott Snyder's like last hurrah.
So I see it. I see it as a book that where it's just let's do something out there for the fun of doing something out there, which is what I it's the one thing that I like about the book. But at the same time, it threw me off a little bit because it's not what I was expecting. But again that's on me. But I feel like we have lost that in comic books, doing wild stories like that just for the fun of doing something wild and outrageous, you know. I feel like we have lost that in comics, and we don't get to see it as much as we used to back
We don't have Jim
back in the day,
Starlin
you know.
dropping acid.
I mean, of course, you know, it's a huge difference in how the world was 30, 40 years ago and where it's at right now. So it's expected to things to change and drop certain aspects of it that are not
I
for
did see the
everyone.
images of Adam Warlock for Guardians of the Galaxy.
I saw one
It's
picture. I'm not impressed.
it's interesting.
Yeah,
That's all I'll say. It's interesting.
yeah. I haven't seen the new trailer for Ant-Man either.
I haven't watched
I'm
the whole thing. I don't know. Like I've been unimpressed with Phase 4 so far.
same. They lost an opportunity. They should have restarted after Endgame, recast
Black Panther.
everyone, start everything from scratch, and that's it.
I was happy that Angela Bassett won an award for
Yeah, she did. That
Black
was really
Panther.
cool. Yes, that was
But
really cool.
honestly, she was so powerful in every fucking speech she gave. It
Every time.
should have been a no-brainer.
Yep, it's true.
Um, yeah, like as I've been catching up with my big two titles, I keep going into the I don't know, this just feels like more of the same. And I don't know if I'm a jaded reader or if like maybe it's just not for me anymore with my tastes.
I mean, I feel like every reader at after certain point, after reading certain amount of books, I mean, your tastes are going to change. Your tastes are going to evolve, and and if what you're reading does not change and evolve with your taste, you're gonna drop it. You're gonna leave it behind, and that's what's happening with me with a lot of the DC stuff, and except for the X-Men stuff. And I admit that there's been times when I'm like, I think I'm gonna drop X-Men too, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, we after certain point we want a little bit more from these books, and like you say, a lot of these books are more of the same. And the fact that DC is only publishing Batman books, apparently, you know? It hurts because you get fatigued, you get saturated. It's too much, you know? It gets to the
It's
point
a
where
weird sadness for me of like, because I remember when I had to drop Batgirl at one point, I was like, this depresses me because I've enjoyed, I enjoyed the run by Gail Simone so much, and then this Bab Tars one where the one writer was apparently a sex offender.
Yes, I forgot his name, but yes, I know who you're talking about, man. I remember when that came out. So
And it was just very weird for me, and I had to drop Spider-Man, but yet like I still peek in on it every now and again. I'm just like, well, no, not digging that. Like the fact Ben Riley's still a fucking thing.
Ben
But
Riley.
now him and Madeline Pryor teamed up to do this stupid dark web Inferno bullshit. Oh yeah, that's a thing. And they got a character called Hollow's Eve now that's dumb as fuck. The Green Goblin's now the Gold Goblin because they took all his sin away. Yeah.
See what I tell you? It's like they're not even trying sometimes, you know?
This is basically why I stay with Image and Boom now. Boom's had a lot of good stuff with Something is Killing the Children and
I haven't
many
read
other titles. I think you would like it. The art might bug you because it's so weird, like big-eyed.
I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out.
So Nemesis Reloaded, first issue just came out. It's got 3 more issues.
It's gonna be a 4-issue miniseries.
Yes. First issue was super hyper violent, of course, because it's Nemesis. But again, it's a reboot, retelling, because the end of the original series was kind of ambivalent.
I have to reread the original to then read the new one.
I just did, and I just remember the ending where they show a guy on the beach at the end kind of sipping a pina colada, where you don't know if the person who was Nemesis in it was actually the real Nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
It was interesting because he was like, oh no, like, I told you I'd kill you at midnight. Flatlines count. If they bring you back to life, it still counts. I killed you. So the whole way that this card he sent at the beginning, because he's targeting every brilliant police chief, he steals the president at the beginning of the second book. He has a lair with a giant fucking mound of cocaine in the middle, where his flunkies are getting into it.
Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go and reread that like tonight.
Yeah, like it was 4 issues. And it goes just as quick as you'd imagine, where like by the time it ends, you're like, hold the fuck up.
Okay, but that Dark Web Amazing Spider-Man issue number 17 cover is pretty badass by John Romita Jr.
I don't even know which one that is.
This one.
Oh, the Gold Goblin.
No, that's Spider-Man. That cover. It's pretty cool. I like it. Leave me alone. Don't judge me.
So we've talked about Mark Millar. Apparently we've liked most of his stuff.
Right?
I think you enjoyed Chrononauts way more than I did.
Which one?
Chrononauts.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. I enjoyed that first Chrononaut a lot. Like I was like, shit, yeah, this book needs to be a longer book.
He had another book come out called Nightclub, which was Spanish teenagers becoming vampires that dress like luchadors.
What is this called?
with Juanan Ramirez as the artist. Sharky the Bounty Hunter with Simone Bianchi, which I never read. Space Bandits with Matteo Scalera. I don't think I ever read that as well.
I haven't read that one. Is that new?
It came out in 2021, 2022.
Then yes.
Prodigy with Raphael Albuquerque, I did read. That was with a genius.
I think I read it. I think I read that one, but I'm not sure. I don't remember.
Movie. Okay, there was a Kingsman Secret Service that came out. They gave him credit for Captain America: Civil War and Logan. Kingsman: The Golden Circle, I didn't watch.
It was a fun movie.
Super Crooks did come out. I never watched it. I didn't even know that came out. Oh. I haven't been on Netflix very much at all. Like, I don't know. That's like the one streaming service I have, but I don't ever go to.
You don't use it.
No, which is sad. Like, I barely watched the last season of Stranger Things up until I found out that it got very metal.
Oh, yeah. Very
and
metal.
Metallica was very about it.
I mean, wouldn't you be? You know, it's.
But
I look for my. I went and look for my files on my Dropbox for. Just doing that. Now I'm gonna read Nemesis when I'm done here.
I honestly like Nemesis held up really well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly well, because I kind of went into it going, all right, like this came out.
This
came out 12 years ago, so let's see what happens.
Oh my god.
Which is weird when I say 12 years ago, because I don't even think I read it that long ago.
What?
Yeah, 2010, 2011.
I read it, I think it was like 2013 when I read it.
Yeah, like it's one of those, and it's boy, time's catching up fast. Well, we're at the hour and a half mark. I feel like we've talked about everything and anything.
Except
literally everything. You got anything going on comic book wise or card wise?
Yes, I'll be the Judas contract, the Coins of Judas contract. The Coins
Judas
of Judas
contract, like, really?
The Coins of Judas book that comes out on the 25th. The Famous Faces and Funnies exclusive cover that I did will be available. I think it's available to pre-order at the store. There's going to be a limited number of signed books by me and the writer. And I have that going on. And then after that, I don't have anything right now on the table. I am available for commissions.
At gambitsinc.com.
At gambitsinc.com. But yeah, no, I have nothing on the table right now, right this second. I have some plans and some ideas. I want to do a book, an anthology book by me, and I have I'm planning on starting that one soon, and hopefully launch that Kickstarter by the end of the year. But let's see how that goes. But that's the plan.
Yeah. You can find me in 2 weeks on the 31st on my birthday doing the kickoff episode of the Longbox Paradox reboot.
Yes.
Volume 1. Yes. With Tessa as a Nerd. We'll probably have some guests come on. We're calling it the Intros and Origins episode. Tessa works in a comic shop. She cleans comic books, classics. She has quite a Silver Age collection that she is constantly collecting. So don't fuck with her books because she knows her shit.
She knows her shit.
I always weirdly have to say this when it comes to women on the shows because there's a weird fucking disconnect in the community. I'll be here just listening with my hands on, like, really? Cool. It'll be a little bit of everything: new comics, old comics, what we're collecting, a little bit of movies because she's a horror fan as well.
Nice.
Hopefully, at some point, Jen will come back and join us. Gambit, you're always welcome to stop in.
Thank you.
And then John's comics with kids, but after dark, so it's not for the kids. We're going to be doing the movies of Michael Mann. I will be talking about Manhunter for way too fucking long. Also Heat and Collateral, which is a movie by Michael Mann I forgot about, with Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise. Cruise playing the villain. Tom Cruise playing the villain.
Right.
And I think I'll probably be picking up my Ant-Man tickets at some point because I'm gonna have to see it. And I think it comes out next month.
Yeah, I mean, I got the. I think it. Yeah, soon, because I already got the notification from.
Yeah, I got it from Fandango. They're like, "Hey, by the way, I know you went to see Black Panther by yourself, so
you want to see this one by yourself too."
Weirdly, it's harder now to go see movies with my new schedule than it was before.
Yeah,
because I work Tuesday through Saturday.
Oh shit!
2:30 to 11.
Damn.
Having to see people I don't want to see for at least 3 hours of the day.
That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's better than being there overnight because I just had to do overnights this last week, and my body did not enjoy going back.
No, man. I can't. I don't know how you could work overnight. I can't do that. I can't.
It's quieter. That's the only thing I'll really say, and I could just jam my music as loud as possible.
Yeah, I think that's the only upside to being able to work overnight is that
people got to hear a lot of Deftones and Metallica this week.
There you go.
And me going, Master. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next broadcast.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.